he kind of overreaches a little bit in the early and the mid game, and they keep getting their Storm Surge tags. I think, again, it's going to turn into a race for second.
I mean, the biggest fear as well is if somebody or some trio just decided to do 50-50s and try to drop into Starks. It happened before. They did lose their spot early in qualifiers when Jaspy's trio, who is in the grand finals, mind you, kind of contested. They kind of started to lose it, but I think that woke up MMT. That woke up this trio to let them know, look, we're going to have to understand that someone will contest us at some point. And they just obliterated Jaspy's trio in that next day in that tournament. So at first place, going all the way down to 7th place or so, it could happen, but so far, I don't taste it in the air. I only smell grand final champion here.
And that would be such a key kind of feather in these guys' caps. We talked about them being some of the strongest and best players in the world, and right now trying to put that on display, utilizing, again, we talked about this as well, the first shot accuracy from the Stark Industry Rifle and the high base damage of it, the fact that it still hits for 35 even at maximum range, and being able to convert on those 50 plus damage headshots, make it one of the strongest weapons. And particularly, I mean, everybody has seen the clip of Mongrel on the high ground with an infantry rifle. This is about the same. And you'll also notice too, they'll generally run in terms of the rifle choice. They'll have a burst rifle on Mitro, and then Tayson and Mongrel will pick up those Stark Industry Rifles. That way, when you're spraying a wall, you have the fast first shot accuracy from the Stark rifles, and then the 2-shot burst coming through on the burst AR. It gives them a bunch of pressure to hit trios behind their builds.
We saw that stat of Indretta, Sapphic, and Mongrel having 15 plus elims, so they are slaying out. But what a metaphor. You see Mongrel's trio all decked out, swagged out, and whiplashes, and then you see everybody else in the back of the pack trying to catch up in the coop. That's the kind of race that we're talking about. Can the turtle catch the hare? And this hare has an extreme crazy start, and they're not going to be lazy like that story hare. They're not going to take a break. They're not going to eat. They're going to keep running at full speed. They're going to take their whiplashes and cross the finish line. The question is, can the people in the coops and the trucks, any kind of Fortnite vehicle, man, I'm going to take it all the way back to the board days, and maybe the shopping cart days, who's going to catch up to that whiplash trio? I don't know who that's going to be.
Yeah, you can see those Mike 51s being so fast on rotation, but I will say the one thing that could end up potentially being a little bit of a stumbling block for the trio would be if they end up struggling with Storm Surge today. We've already seen in the first 2 games, that first Storm Surge has been massive in a completely uncontested drop spot. If they aren't able to kind of get enough tags to get over the top, that could force them into kind of one of those classic mongrel over-aggressive situations.
Right.
As long as they avoid that, I think they'll be okay. Right? I think that if they've done enough so far where they have the playmaking ability over the course of these 6 games, that they're going to have at least 1 or 2 more solid games in that instance. As long as they don't have 1 or 2 absolutely ruinous games by Storm Surge, this should be good enough for them. But right now, we're going to hop on board with the pressure coming from iDrop straight into the box. Downs gets picked up there. No problem from iDrop 7. However, Sturstinks is going to eat a little bit of a problem there. He gets caught in a separate box, and all bit of a disengage, make sure they can get shields up, but a little bit of a slip up there from what is normally a very strong box-to-box trio.
That was like an extreme push. I've never seen the 1, 2, 3 as a trio, and then what ended up right in the shins. You mentioned this in the EU side of things. You got to wear your shin guards, man. You got to pop them, or if not, someone's going to crack you, give you that slide tackle, and there's not going to be a referee to come out of nowhere and give you a red card to kick you out. You're going to have to do this on your own.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you'll get a warning there in the form of one of your players dropping down, but the retaliation not going to result in anybody else being sent off. You can see Nems and Wave Doko rotating through the onto him here, and actually looks like they're trying to kind of pick this fight 2v3. You see Storm Surge is ticking on. 20 players going to be impacted by that here in 1 minute and 45 seconds. iDrop trying to force his way into the box, but plenty of angles and pressure coming out from the other. from Nems. He is down the shield advantage, but he has his teammate providing some rifle support on both the angles that you can see. Jaganza and Joko just laying down shots for him. A little bit of spread out, though, if they are able to force in and get Nems situated. And they're going to use the harpoon gun straight in, and Nems is going to get picked off. A huge pick up there from iDrop and Vettel, but can they get out of the water?
You're just seeing how great this trio is, but I think what's really affecting them as we're seeing them to try to capitalize and close out this trio is that essentially that change in drop spot is really hurting them. Look at their power weapons. It's not there. They're really doing this with green weapons and not having that firepower. Yes, you could be the most extreme trio that's going to fight hip to hip, but when you're not as strong as Monster was like to say, a 1.5 player that's walking around with an epic shotgun or legendary shotgun, it's just going to be so difficult for you to close out these fights. It's a matter of stamina, and you don't have the necessary stamina considering that you're basically going into these engagements in shambles, and already iDrop 7 goes down. Surstix is already out, and Vettel is literally on the green HP as Storm is going to overwatch them, and there it is. They get cleaned up, Sundown, and this is the same interesting that I was talking about Thomas HD, the change in drop spot. This trio of Vettel landed in Misty Meadows during their heats. Thomas HD landed in Dirty Docks. They made the switches, and they have yet to kind of find the right rotations out of those changes.
We can see all the action going down as everyone trying to get above the Storm Surge threshold. But most important to the leaderboard there, we saw Andalex and Co. ended up having at least 2 of their players fall. So going to be forced into a 1v3 situation unless they can stick a revive. We're going to hop on board here. Nako's Clement and Floki sitting on 1 Elim courtesy of Nako's vertical shockwave coming out. Pops him up into the air, but not going to really find anything. Going to be able to utilize his hard mats, just kind of drop back down. You can see the Elim feed lighting up, and the only thing that matters is we're not seeing Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson on the right side of that feed. In fact, we saw them on the left side of that feed getting a knock, and right now, Vadil, Kylie, and Frostroki under pressure here from our top 4 French trio of Nako's, Floki, and Clement.
And Vidil was one of those trios that was so hot coming into the grand finals, and they just literally, just like a hot iron hitting cold water, boom, just get cooled down instantly, just like that chug splash. No doubt must be feeling right now. He says things are going to get ratcheted up a notch. Considering, Sundown, we have a Coral Castle finish in our midst, in the distance. But let's just focus in on this trio fight right now. Floki, Clement, Nakos, who's been heating up, had a great game previously. These are the fights that they had lose, because we saw it in day 1 where they had those bad game 2 and game 3. This cannot go. They have to go their way here. Yes, it's a nice knock on Vadil.
Yeah, Floki actually just put Vadil in a blender there for a second. Getting over to the side there, Kylie also going to end up dropping from a couple boxes away, getting a key siphon too over onto Nakos, who desperately needed the extra shield. They wanted that pickup. They know that Frostroki is still around here somewhere. They have the additional flopper, but keep an eye on the bottom right-hand corner. See all of those triangles who are already rotating the zone ahead of them, and with only 1 shockwave, it's going to be very dangerous for this trio to approach the outside. Still 66 players remaining. 25 trios, so continuing the trend of having a little bit of a denser lobby. However, thanks to those 3 eliminations, they're not going to have to worry about this Tier 2 Storm Surge when it rears its head.
Yeah, it feels great. They got the elims, but they're not yet in the placement threshold. We are about 8 trios going down before we can start doling out those points. And this is the things they're already overcoming these engagement obstacles. You're going to have to shoot that are doing those window edits. Stop shooting at me.
And one of the key things about this trio is their ability to get a little bit more effectively. Again, we've talked about it in the games where they don't drop right away. They're one of the more aggressive trios, so their averages are brought down a little bit by those complete and utter goose egg games. When you take those out of consideration, they have a really good time. But forget what I'm saying right now, as the matter of importance is in the bottom right-hand corner. You see that white circle? That's the 4th safe zone. There's only 3 trios currently inside of it, so everyone else is going to begin a mad dash to just pack in on the southern side side of that circle. The entirety of the lobby will be trying to squeeze into that area because everyone else is going to be coming from that side. Nobody wants to put themselves as the first ones out over water. It makes it so easy. You can see everyone going at once, just desperately swimming, hoping to avoid the fire at the top. And just look at the charge up the beach. Storming the beachhead comes EU.
Oh my goodness, and we're seeing trios already going for height. Mongo and Mitro at height, and just behind them, looming in a distance, as Benzi trio. And they're kind of gambling in. If the circle goes their way and half in and half out, they're going to have a strong hold here. So Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson here are just now beaming any kind of salmon trying to swim upstream. And they're going to be that bear that's going to feed on this entire rotation here. And look at the congestion that you're seeing here. Everybody, like you mentioned, Sundown, all trying to get on the beach as much as possible and hold on tight. And already there's only one trio that's kind of sitting up there, that pink one, and Floki. Oh no! Floki goes down. That engagement that took up the time is influencing them, is hurting them on this rotation, Sundown.
And they're completely out there. Clement got picked up earlier. Nako's going down right afterward in the long rotation. The top 14, we talked about their ability to get eliminations, but at what cost? Apparently everything, as our number one trio sits high atop their perch, high atop the throne. They're first in the leaderboard. They're first right now. Rojo will tick over. High ground, Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson priority positioning. Our second place team still in the lobby, but they're going to have to be toppled at some point. The clock is against everyone else, as Janice and Anderlex are also without a squeeze. They're in a duo. However, luckily for everyone, the lobby is pulling completely away from that, with the little side note that we are going all the way over the water. So
aquatic, it's all going to be dangerous, but at the end there's going to be someone that's going to have a victory royale. They're going to be soaked, they're going to be tired from all the sweat and all the water, but it's going to be a big game. Somebody could easily kind of bolt their way up their leaderboard, but if Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson, yes, they didn't get the victory royale, but Shayo said it best, they kind of got a mini victory just by staying up. And look at it, they're at height. This is going to be big considering everything's going to be over water. The low ground warriors are not going to have
three eliminations. And as we keep an eye on the top of the leaderboard, every single placement point that Tayson, Mongrel, and Mitro get effectively nullifies the placement points everyone else is getting, because it doesn't matter if you get that point, they're getting it too. They'll continue to open up that lead, and unless somebody can knock them down off of this throne, it looks like it's going to continue to be a battle for second. As the fifth zone will close, we'll have our transition into the end game, and we're going to head over to the Shark, baby.
Yes, and now Cammy, that was a trio that was able to knock off Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson with a shockwave play. That is the EU thing to do. No doubt, Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson know how to kind of combat that. They know the defense, and they get a good spread, and there it is. They're going to beam all these people trying to go for it. They're already going to the tip of the nose of the shark. They're becoming the sharks of the region. We already have a rogue shark in NA East, the X-Set boys, and all that. But Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson are being the alpha predators, the apex of right now in this EU region, and that is proof in the pudding, considering they're sitting on top of the leaderboard and they're on the feed. And we already seen this. Double E limbs comes from height. The E limb natality is strong with this trio.
And you can see, have you ever just wanted a shark with a laser beam on top of its head? Well, this is the best you'll ever get. It's Mongrel up there with a legendary Stark infantry rifle, raining shots from above. We saw Savage go down in the feed. Lefty's going to pick up another Elim. Despite the fact that 17 players have dropped, not a single trio has gone down, so only one placement point doled out. And as I say that, they begin to tick over. Mongrel gets another elimination. 15 trios remaining. He's going to be forced over to the side. He's going to build back up. He needs to get over to the high ground and connect with the. They are doing a great job of executing this textbook high ground control, and it's going to be their match to close out. However, low on mats is Mongrel, but he says, don't matter, don't care. I got the AR I need in the Stark Industry Rifle, and he finds another elimination. We have our top 20 players, top 11 trios.
And it's going to go back over water again. And it all is up to Tayson, the in-game leader, to kind of lead Mongrel and Mitro to the prime position with getting a knock on ZQ, getting them those angles that they need to send those beams down. We've already labeled these as one of the strongest players in the region to see. Look at this, it's going to go off a waterfall. There's more elevation to go down and down.
Them go down. However, Dennis on his feet by Angela being up to the second place, at least still getting up to fifth. That's what the top trios do the best in the game. They've managed to find a way to eke out these placement points. We've talked about it, that Europe has kind of been the run of the Lone Ranger of the final moments. And if there isn't a trio hip to hip, but there's on the road down here trios, who is hip to hip as Hen will go down there. Deceptos following in his feet right away will signal the end of that trio, but Wolfies is at the back of the storm. But at the end of the day, the story of EU, time and time again, E11 Tayson, the Chapter 2 Season 3 solo winner, Liquid Mitro and Mongrel on the high ground running it out. It's a 3v2. They have 11 eliminations, and at this point, it is a battle for second. There is no way, unless there is a monumental ruin, that with the way this trio is playing so far, anybody will be able to catch them or repeat this performance. And this is why Mitro drops down. Tayson and Mongrel shooting fish in a literal barrel of
all question, will Mongrel, Mitro, or Tayson
50 over Sazik, Shio, and Reese to show
first game jitters, no. Thank you, Reese. Thank you. Number one. Listen, first game jitters are gone. The trio cracks back. I can't believe it. And these guys did a perfect job of calling this out for us, right? Tayson being your solos invitational FNCS champion from Chapter 2 Season 3. Coming in, you've got the veterans, the pioneers, Mongrel and Mitro. You slam them all together, and we may very well be looking at the next FNCS Trios champions. Let's take a look at these leaderboards. Look at this lead, gentlemen.
When they started teaming up with Tayson, I felt like it was a personal fantastic choice because Tayson is very calm, collected, very keeps his own head, and he can IGL these guys into victory. And throughout the start of the FNCS, there was a lot of memes on social media. Seems like at this point he's wrapped it all up. Guys are just playing incredibly consistent.
So these guys are now just 1 point. Their story kind of unfolds in these next few. All the way to 10th place, Benji, Savage, and Lecce finding some success with Elims in a few games, not making those end games completely. 85 points right now. Past that from 7th to 10th, it is just a 4-point game from Floris' trio all the way down to Teeks.
Yeah, very, very close between the 6th and 10th. And, you know, we just talked about Benji's team there. They kind of have been struggling being contested off spawn, kind of similar to what we've seen during the qualifiers. You know, they'll win that fight, but it'll drag out way too long, and the rotations just aren't good because of that. So I don't know what the next plan is for the next few games today, but hopefully they can kind of figure that out. But moving on to our next page, 11th down to 15th, kind of the similar names that we've seen over the last 2 days on this page.
Yeah, I was going to say that the top 15 is really kind of looking standard now. These guys have found their pacing. It's about improving even more now, taking every game as an individual moment, analyzing it, making the best decisions, and winning, just like we saw Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson do in that last game. From 16th to 20th overall, we also have a few new names coming in and out, but at the same time, the same teams still on the page. We see Lanouf, Marine, and Jaspe on this page right now, 47 points, contesting that top team in first place. Hen, Deciptos, and Putrick finding some success here on day 2, but these guys will have to have great games to catch up to that top 5.
Guys, this last game felt like a superhero movie, right? We had the shot of the waterfall. We had players trying to go up and down, and then finally the heroes find themselves basking in the sun at the end, being victorious. I mean, we very well could be looking at our next FNCS champions, but there's more that kind of happened here in the game. So I'm going to kick it over to you guys. Walk us through what you guys are seeing.
Yeah, we'll have some big perspectives here earlier on in that end game from Mongrel and how these guys kind of learned from their last game, game number 1 of today, fixed their mistakes, and in game number 2, really played the zone very well to get that victory royale.
You can see they're already on height at this point, but they claimed that during the 50-50 zone because they got the zone right on them from 4th. But these guys are good. They've already claimed a high ground position earlier on, so when they got that 5th zone, they could completely utilize that and keep height from there on out.
Yeah, in game 1, the mistake was kind of putting all the eggs in one basket, but not really knowing exactly where that basket stood. In this zone, there was water completely in the low ground. They were very comfortable on staying on height the whole time. Tayson here as well staying at the front. Mongrel staying in the back so he could keep tabs on any trios trying to shockwave up like we saw Artours do before. There's that water dive bomb play as Sancho called out. CRR, Kinzel, and Wolfies tried their best to play this water zone, but being on height is the best choice when you're in this type of zone, this aquatic kind of formation of what ends up happening for everyone on low. It's so hard to find your footing, and because of that, Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson stayed high, stayed dry, and ended up winning that game with beautiful decision making.
And Mitro actually, if you saw there, edited down by Tayson, which didn't seem like an accident. You know, initially when you watched that back, it seemed like Mitro was going to make the aggressive play to go pick up those eliminations. But, you know, even the top teams make a mistake at the end, accidentally editing Mitro down into the water. But because they were over that water, he was safe from fall damage, and they all managed to frag out and pick up that big victory royale.
Hey, look, you just got to fake it till you make it, right? It's not a mistake if you don't call it out. It's a calculated risk, a calculated plan of attack. And when you're as far ahead as these guys, when you're as skilled as these guys, when you've been on the scene as long as these guys, they turn these L's into W's. That's just what they do. I want to see them continue with this momentum. Remember, we've got another 5 games on the day. Anything can happen, but will it? We have to kick it back over to our casters to continue the storylines, and we'll be back after this with more breakdowns. Take it away, boys.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Shio, and Reese. And here we are into the match number 8. And so far, it's been all Tayson, Mongrel, and Mitro with nothing less than a 7th place finish over their first 7 matches, so incredibly well done. But already looking at the mini-map, for the first time in what feels like a long time, there's some other triangles at Stark Industries. So somebody has decided to pony up. Somebody has decided to rise to the challenge and be the David to their Goliath over at Stark Industries. We'll be keeping an eye on that elimination feed, but with the Southern Zone 2 right on the edge of that, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Hey, I don't know, man. I've been watching Ghostbusters getting me in the Halloween spirit. You guys released some awesome outfits. And that is a biblical proportion type feat. That is one giant marshmallow man to overcome there. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to bust the bubble of Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson. They are on an unbelievable ride. But one hero that may stand tall, one trio that can get that job done is Kenzel Wolfies and CRR. They can make things interesting. And the reason why I say that is because they could pop off with Elims as well. And they've been putting it all together. We're getting some placement points, Sundown.
And one thing to note in particular about the last game, you saw how he had the bandage cannon on the low ground, but being out of mats, and when you're in the water, you can't actually fire the bandage against anything. It will go all the way down to the bottom of the water. So despite being on 20 HP, he didn't have anything to kind of mark himself against, as we actually see up in the elimination feed, and Dretta picking up another early elimination there. But also, we saw Lecce end up going down as well. So another one of our power trios over at Doom's Domain struggling a little bit here off of the start. The Dual Media boys giving them everything they can handle so far here on day 2.
And I gotta know, as we've seen that Snipe does pick up an Elim on